Hey guys, it's Jess, the blogger and brand photographer at Sharuk Studios and the creator of the Brand Photography Method, a course that teaches entrepreneurs and bloggers like yourselves how to style and capture and edit brand photos all on your own, so you don't need to hire a photographer every time, and so you can create a beautiful brand that is authentic to you and attracts your dream audience and clients. So today, I thought it'd be kind of fun to share this old blog post that I wrote, I think it's like 4 years old now, but I wrote it before I launched my business, and it's titled The 10 Things I Wish I Knew When I Started Photography. So obviously my perspective now, because it's been 4 years, is definitely different than it was when I was at this point in my life, because I wasn't even doing this professionally and all that. And I was reading it and I was like, oh, these tips are cute. And I thought this actually would be really useful to share, because I know, a lot of people are just starting out and they're wanting to get into photography, so they probably would find this helpful. And man, I totally wish I knew these things when I was starting out. It definitely would have cut my learning curve down. And now, now that I like teaching people, because I feel like I've done it for so many years and I've learned so many things that I'm like, oh, I can just distill everything down. You don't need to know all of these little random things. You just need to know this. This will get you the results. Ignore the rest of the info out there. So anyways, I'll share what I wrote, because I was kind of previewing it, reading off my phone. But it was pretty funny. So okay, so my first thing that I have is master your equipment. And I heard this quote, or someone said this somewhere, but it was basically, would you rather be a great photographer using decent equipment or a decent photographer using great equipment? And what I got away from that was the equipment really does not make the photographer. I've seen photographers take amazing photos with a Polaroid camera, or just on their phone, or with a super old film camera that isn't as fancy as all these other, Canon 5D Mark whatever cameras on the market. So I think people feel they need to get the top of the line equipment to get those results, but really what makes a great photo is your creative eye and how you see something. That's all what photography is. It's how you see something and then capturing it. So start off with whatever equipment you have. Maybe it is just I don't know, even a little point and shoot camera or a phone camera or whatever DSLR camera you have currently. Don't feel like you need to upgrade and keep putting money into that stuff right away. Just master what you do have. And I was using my own little dinky little Nikon D3100 for quite a few years. I didn't upgrade until I was I'm going full-time as a business doing this. So until you, I don't know, just see a need and you feel your current equipment is limiting you in some way, just learn every function there is and just become a whiz, know in and out. Okay, so the second thing is invest in lenses. So when I did get my camera, I got it as a Christmas gift, and I was so excited, and I loved playing around with it and just doing little photo shoots and I don't know, just learning photography. I was 19 and just really excited to create. I didn't really like the results I was getting, and I was I just got a professional camera. Why doesn't this look as good as everyone else's photos? And then after a lot of research at the time, because again, when you don't know anything, you have to do so much research online, I realized to get the results I wanted, I needed a certain lens. And I needed a lens with a wider aperture. So I was okay, I'm gonna get the 50 1.4, and I saved up a bunch of money and then went and bought that while I was still in school, because I was priorities. But yeah, that's what I would spend my money on. I was saving up for camera equipment. But in hindsight, I wish I just got the 50 1.8, because it's way cheaper and the aperture difference is basically nothing. It's the same thing. So now, even in hindsight now, get a good lens right from the get-go, and don't get a $2,000 lens. You can get really good lenses that are not as expensive. I would seriously recommend the 50 1.8, because it's just a great starter beginner lens if you At least if you're wanting to capture like kind of like the style of photos that I capture, which is just like the very soft blurred out backgrounds and your subjects in focus, and you just get that really nice depth of field. Okay, so my third tip I learned, which I guess you kind of learn the hard way when you are testing out with a lot of like, let's just say like I was on set, and okay, my third tip, I'll just get into it. It's keep a gallery of inspiration photos. And I remember I learned this because like, and not just on your computer, like save them to your phone, because when you're out photographing a model, a friend, whatever, and you're new to photography and you're like fumbling with your camera settings and you're like figuring out how to pose them and you really have no idea still what you're doing because you're new and it's hard. Keep a gallery of inspiration photos, because you might get stuck on like an idea or like a certain angle you want or a facial expression you saw online. It's just a lot easier to have those photos to reference, so you never run out of ideas and you never kind of like clam up and get nervous. And now I do it with like clients and for photo shoots like as part of the preparation process. So now even like years later, after I like learned this was a good thing to do for my own sake, it's more just like, oh, it's so much easier to be like, oh, like show them the example on your phone and be like, can you kind of pose like this? And then I'll kind of adjust them. Or, oh, like what do you think of like this type of angle? Or even if I'm stuck, I'm like, oh, let me just like look at my phone quickly because I had this really cool idea planned out for us to do today. And now it's like not even weird. It's like, oh, that's just like how I plan photo shoots. So yeah, definitely keep inspiration photos on your phone. It's just, yeah, super smart. Makes everything so much easier. You never get stuck. Okay, the fourth thing that I wish I knew when I started is to work with a hair and makeup team. So when I was like building my portfolio, I was photographing like whoever really would volunteer for me. I was like photographing friends. I'd photograph my boyfriend at the time, get him to pose and stuff. I would get like girls who were interested in blogging or who were interested in modeling, and I went to fashion school, so I had a lot of people in my program that were designing really cool clothes all the time. So I would like get them to either be in photos or like let me use the clothes they had made. And what I learned is that to make like a photo look really good, you're gonna want really good quality hair and makeup, because it's just gonna, one, cut down on like any sort of photo editing or retouching, and it just makes the photo look that much more polished. I'm not saying you have to like have like something very like overly done, like it doesn't have to look super editorial, like fashion magazine, something crazy, but yeah, like hair and makeup makes such a big difference. And I'm working with a lot of women and it's for their business. So again, it's just something I include now automatically with my packages because I know how important it is. And yeah, I mean, if someone's gonna like invest in a brand photo shoot or all this time into planning your own brand photos, it's just worth it to like make sure your hair and makeup looks good too. Actually, a tip if you are just starting out, that this is what I did, is that I didn't really have money to pay a makeup artist and a hairstylist when I was new and just like building up my portfolio. So what I would do is I would find either someone at like a similar skill level to me, like whether they were also a university student or like a new business or whatever, and we would do a trade of services. Because hair and makeup artists, of course, what do they want? Photos of their work to put on their website or share on social media. So I would like be networking a lot with people in that industry. And then, yeah, I had a lot of people that were like, okay, yeah, I would love to do that. That's such a great idea. And like, it was mutually beneficial. And I even at one point worked with like an actual, like legit, like hair and makeup boutique. And I was, again, not a business owner at the time, but I was like still working to build up to that point. But they loved it. They loved doing shoots. And like, I'd bring in, you know, new models to this boutique and it seemed very like professional. So yeah, that was really good. But I think that's something that if you're just starting photography is a really good thing to do. And this is just kind of like, I don't know, I guess it's just like networking really, and building up the right contacts and finding people to collaborate with where you can help each other grow. And then the end product is just gonna be that much better. Okay, so my next tip, I find this one really funny. I love reading these because I remember like the headspace I was in when I wrote this post, because you'll learn from your mistakes, let's just say that. But it is stick to simple props and styling. So I was like, again, I've mentioned this before, but I studied fashion and I was like very inspired by fashion magazines and editorials and all that stuff. And those photos are incredibly elaborate, from the outfits, the hair, the makeup, the sets, like everything. And yeah, I learned really quickly, like, oh, it's just way better to stick to simple sets and simple props, because you're gonna need to go like way above and beyond to make something elaborate look even like sort of good. Like, I'll give you an example. If you are wanting, like, I'm obsessed with flowers. So I was like always wanting to create a flower wall, and I just loved that idea of like making a flower wall and then having people take photos in front of it. But you can't make a flower wall with just a few flowers. That's gonna look bad and it's gonna look so sparse and not attractive at all. Like, it's gonna look very DIY. Like, okay, what is this girl doing? Like, she clearly made that and it looks, yeah, bad. So you're gonna need to either like go all out or just like bring it back. Like, how can you still incorporate flowers but on a smaller scale that's like a bit more simple, a bit more realistic, and still has that effect? So then another example would be, I would actually just go out and buy a bouquet and then do photos where maybe they'd be holding like a single rose, or like they would put flowers in their hair, or like I liked ones where I would have them like laying down on the ground and I would just place flowers like around them. And again, you don't need like dozens and dozens and dozens of flowers to make that look attractive. Like, you could just go out and buy like a $10 or $20 bouquet and that would still look really good. So that's just an example, because yeah, I think at the time I was just like, I want to go create these amazing sets and stuff, and it was just not realistic at the time. So I realized the power of, okay, let's keep everything a lot more simple, a lot more streamlined, and it's just gonna look better, like higher quality, more professional. Okay, so my next thing that I wish I learned is that light is everything. So yeah, good lighting will just really change the mood of a photo, also the quality of a photo, and knowing like what camera settings to use for certain lighting situations. When I was, again, newer to photography, I was trying to expand my knowledge in lighting. Like, I was very comfortable shooting natural light and I loved the look, but again, with the whole, I want things to look more fashiony, I was trying to learn different studio lighting techniques. And I went through this phase when I was living and working in Montreal, and I had my own little like 1-bedroom apartment, and it was like really small, but it was like really cute. And I transformed my whole living room into like a photography studio. And I was like, I don't need a couch or a TV, like move everything. And I just like put up this huge like backdrop like against my whole like patio window, so I had like no light. I was like, no, full backdrop instead. And then I spent like a lot of money on lighting equipment because I was trying to learn. So I got like a studio light, and I decided after a bit of research, like, okay, well, what kind of like modifier do I want to get? So I got a beauty dish because I had like learned kind of how to use that at a workshop I had done. So I don't know why I'm going into this story, but yeah, anyways, let's circle back to the point. Yeah, so I had like a few, I don't know, it was like a year-ish or like 6 months-ish where I was really experimenting with studio lighting, because I was also at a job where a lot of things we shot was in a studio. So I had to kind of like learn different things when I was working there. And just like using like big soft boxes and how to arrange them, and like, I don't know, you have to like turn up certain settings or like adjust it's all this technical stuff, which now I just don't care about. It's like not even part of my style. So but I would definitely say it's worth learning and putting time into, because when you understand light, it's gonna make photography and your job so much easier. I used to, again, be like not that knowledgeable about it, but now I'm at a point where someone could show me a photo and I would be able to tell you like where the light is coming from and like what angle, and a lot of the times I could say like even like describe like if it's like sunlight or if it's studio light, or all that stuff. Like I'm even like able to kind of pinpoint like focal lengths on lenses. So I mean, that just comes with like repetition and exposing yourself to a lot more photos, and just like experimenting yourself and like taking more photos. But yeah, like I definitely don't regret experimenting with studio light, even though I rarely do it now. But try it out, because the way like you light an image is actually going to really influence your style of work, and people are going to be hiring you based on your style. So if you you know, want to have a more edgy, moodier style, you might actually be a fan of studio lighting, because you can get those like really dark shadows on like the side of someone's face, and it's like a lot more crisp, and you can like adjust the angle and do a lot of really cool things. But for me personally, I just, like I said, I have a very bright, airy style, and I love being outside when I'm shooting. So for me, natural light and just having that really like soft, even light on people's faces is what I go for, which is also, I find, very like easy to use. So yeah, but yeah, the whole point, learn lighting. It's a very useful skill. I do teach actually quite a bit of lighting things in my course, if that is something you do want to learn. Like I teach different studio lighting techniques and natural light techniques, and how you can kind of recreate natural light with a studio, because sometimes you know, if you're restricted by daylight hours or whatever, you're going to need to be able to recreate that with certain equipment. But yeah, I go over a lot of different things in that module. So again, I'm going to have the course info down below if you do want to check that out. Okay, this lesson is so important, and it's like my biggest pet peeve too at the same time, but it's get it right in camera. So my biggest pet peeve is when I hear people, like other photographers or people that I'm working with, and they say, oh, I'll just fix that later in Photoshop. It drives me up the wall. Okay, two things. If I'm working with someone, that's like so much work for the photographer to be like, oh, you can just fix it in Photoshop, right? Fix it in Photoshop, fix it in Photoshop. Everyone wants you to fix everything in Photoshop. And I'm like, oh, this is just so unrealistic, and like, oh, it's just like, it's such a simple thing to fix on the spot. And when you get used to being like, no, I'm gonna try to get the best quality photo right now in camera and not rely on Photoshop to fix it later, you just have like a better eye for detail. The quality of your image is gonna go up, because I've done that whole thing where I'm like, oh, kind of be like loosey-goosey about it, like, whatever, I'll fix it later. And then you go to try to edit it, and it is not fun. It is frustrating, and I've spent many all-nighters, like no sleep, editing photos, trying to meet deadlines, and being like, why did I promise that I could fix this in Photoshop when it's just always sometimes not realistic. So yeah, get it right in camera. Like different things would be, oh, like certain hair is out of place, or if it's like a bit frizzy, just like, that's why you have a hair and makeup stylist there. Like they're supposed to be looking out for those things, so get them to smooth it, because you don't want to have to like go in and retouch all that stuff later. Or if like lipsticks on teeth, like it's so easy to fix on the spot. Sorry, my throat there. But it's so easy to fix that sort of thing on the spot. Or wrinkly clothes. Again, just like have things ironed beforehand, or I don't know, like position it differently. Just like make sure they're like pulling it down, like everything's in place. Like take your time, don't rush. Develop your eye for detail and to like notice those things out of place, and don't always rely on Photoshop to fix your lack of attention to those things. Also, something people might not realize is Photoshop can't fix everything. Like for example, I have like, I've written here a few things Photoshop can't fix, which I think is good to include, but say if your exposure is like way too bright, like Photoshop can't recover detail that you've lost when you've blown out highlights. So like, I don't know if you guys know what that means, but if something's like really bright, right? And it's like blown out white, like say if my skin's like probably the brightest thing in this photo because I'm very pale. But if it was like blown out, I can't like recover that later when I'm editing. That's just gonna be like messed up. Like there's no info there for the camera to pick up on. Or another thing is if your photo is out of focus, you can't fix it if it's out of focus. So those are like little things as a photographer you have to make sure like you are aware of. And even things like when you're like posing someone, you don't want to have like a photo where like their body's positioned well and then their like facial expression is like not good, and then you say, I'll like fix it later, I'll like swap heads or something. Like that gets just very messy and can look really fake. Like we've all seen those, you know, Photoshop blunders on Instagram where you're like, that arm doesn't quite line up and like this looks really artificially edited. Like just make sure everything's good in camera. Like get it right in camera. Actually, this is a good lead into my next thing that I wish I knew, and that is to not over edit your photos. Again, I am sharing this from experience because I used to just really want to try out a lot of different things. So I would like experiment and I wanted to do really cool edits, and at the time a lot of weird things were trendy when I was learning photography. Like a lot of really over edited is what I would call it now, like styles of photography. I don't even know how to explain it, like certain HDR techniques or you just have like a lot of different elements photoshopped in, like, oh, there's like a glittery rainbow coming across and there's like wind and I'm gonna extend her hair to be like 10 feet long, and I don't know, there was just like, or like you'd bring out people's like the detail on their skin or in the photo, so it was like so sharp and the detail was so prominent, the image would look almost like crispy, like too like crunchy and just like too pixely. And there's just a lot of weird things I found when I was like in these learning stages that were like popular and trendy, and very glad. I feel like that's like out of style now, like no one edits like that. But I was like obviously trying to go with the trends and like learn as much as I could, so I would try all these things out, but it did not look good. Like it looked bad. Like yeah, no, like those early photos of mine, did not look good. So yes, don't over edit in Photoshop. Less is more. Okay, so my 9th thing that I wish I knew when I started photography was to experiment with photographing different subjects and styles. So I believe when you're starting photography, it's beneficial to just try a bunch of different things, because you're never really gonna know what resonates with you and what you really love to photograph. Because there's so many different things, like I kind of mentioned, there's like architecture, landscapes, like travel, food, people, portraits, weddings, like there's so many genres of photography. So because I started learning photography when I was in school, I was pretty focused on just photographing fashion, which is like a mix of like obviously outfits and people and that sort of thing, like a bit of product photography too. And I like really was enjoying it. And then between my 3rd year and 4th year, I went to Europe for a few weeks. And it was my first time like really traveling like abroad, like in another, I don't know, I guess I'd been to Mexico, but you know what I mean? It was like my first big like trip where I was in with family and I was like with my boyfriend at the time, and it was awesome. It was like a dream because I was in Paris and like all these other really cute European cities. And I was loving photographing like the architecture and the buildings and all the sites and like the landmarks. I was just like so excited. But after that trip, I remember feeling like, oh, I just really miss photographing people. And it's because I really missed like having that one-on-one connection with my subject and kind of photographing like emotion and like their little expressions and like nuances in their, you know, in the way they act and move and all that stuff. So that was like a key thing for me to realize, is that, okay, I know I really love photographing people. So along my photography journey, I always just paid attention to like what, like I guess was like really, I felt pulled to. And so I did like, you know, fashion and stuff, but I was like, I think I'm just really into portraits. And again, that has also since evolved because I never really get that excited just photographing things, like just like things on a table or like products or whatever. Like for me, I need to have people in my photos. Otherwise I just am not that interested in it. So it took me, yeah, some time to kind of realize that. And I have written here, like, maybe if I experimented more in the beginning, I would have like, you know, known this about myself sooner. And it's funny because I'm like, there, little Jess, you're fine. You had only been doing photography for a few years. You figured it out. Because then I had a much better idea of what kind of business I wanted to create around photography and like who I wanted to work with and serve. And yeah, because I wasn't really that into fashion after a while. I kind of like, I don't know, I just like didn't really like that. But I really liked people and I really liked creative direction. So just like knowing those things, I kind of knew like I wasn't ever called to like wedding photography or like family photography because I was obsessed with the creative direction side, and I wanted to like plan out all the like the locations, the wardrobe, like the hair and makeup, like the shot list and all that. And sometimes you don't have as much creative control with those types of photography. So I was just very aware of all the little things I liked, and I've been always really into branding. Like I love branding. And I don't mean like I want to be a designer, but I love the idea of like kind of like figuring out someone's aesthetic, their personality, what their story is, who they're trying to target, and creating a brand that's just really one of a kind to them. That's been something I'm super passionate about. And then, you know, knowing that mixed with my love for photography and photographing people and creative direction, that is how this whole idea sparked for brand photography. It's kind of like combining my two things I'm really into now that I just said it out loud. Which I guess I knew this. But yeah, I mean, the only way you're ever gonna learn what really resonates with you though is when you try a lot of things and just keep a mental note, like what excites you and what kind of bores you, like what don't you want to do anymore. Okay, my last tip, which I think this is a really good tip, especially because I wrote this 4 years ago and I was not a business entrepreneur yet. So I'm almost like impressed that I had this insight, but I wrote, pick an area to focus on. So once you've like done all this like deep dive research and introspection on yourself, and you know what genre you want to do and like what style really resonates with you and all those different things, like what your brand is. Basically it's good to pick an area to focus on because you don't want to be seen as like a jack of all trades, because then you're going to be known really for nothing. You want to have people like come to you for a certain thing. At least I find I'm really drawn to people that are like specialists. Like I'm gonna go, if I ever want to do like a boudoir shoot, like I'm gonna go to the like top boudoir photographer, or I'm gonna go to this like really gorgeous, like amazing like wedding photographer. Or maybe you want to photograph pets, like I'm gonna go to the pet photographer. What I'm not gonna do is go to like the family photographer to photograph my pet or to photograph my wedding or whatever it is that I'm looking for. So I think it's really good to figure out who are you helping, because you can't really help everyone and people aren't going to remember what you do and the packages you offer and the services and the experience if you have something for like all these different types of clients. So I'm glad I wrote this tip down because I took my own advice and I immediately knew I wanted to be known as like the branding girl, like the brand photographer, and to work with entrepreneurs. I never really got into other genres. Like I would photograph bloggers a little bit and like sometimes portraits, but it was basically all branding. And then I kind of have this like continuation of this tip, and that is to show the work that you want to book or that you want to receive. So if you are putting together a website and starting to share examples of your work online, and you know what genre you want to do, like if you know you want to be a brand photographer as well, don't put all these random photos on your like website and social media. You know, you have to like kind of curate it so that way someone's gonna see it and be like, oh, I want that. Because otherwise you're kind of attracting like a mishmash of clients and you're gonna book projects that you're not even that excited about. So yes, that's a good, even just like business marketing tip, is like share the type of work you want to receive. And I even had like certain types of entrepreneur clients I wanted to work with. Like I loved anyone who had a very like feminine style, and I mean, just because that's my style, women gravitated towards me. Like I don't think I've worked with any male entrepreneur clients, which I didn't intentionally try to like not work with them, but based on the work I was sharing, that's just not who I was attracting. So maybe there's just certain businesses you want to work with. And even now I'm actually almost niching down a bit more because I'm so into wellness. So Now I'm actually like trying to just share more wellness content and like wellness brands, or like images from their shoots. And I've even had people say like, I love that you say that you are a wellness photographer, or like a brand photographer for wellness brands or whatever, because they're like, I just know like you're the person I need, like no one else is gonna be able to photograph me like you can. And that's, I think, the type of reaction you want from people, is like you're a specialist at something. And a good way to think of that is like, you know, there's like, for like doctors, like there's a general practitioner, and cool, they can like, they have a little bit of knowledge about all the different things going on in the body. But if you have an actual problem with something, like say your brain or your heart, you're gonna go to like a heart specialist or a brain specialist, or whatever those terms are called. I don't know what the professional name is, but because like they know that part of the body very, very well. Like they have way more knowledge and way more experience, and they see tons of patients that have probably had similar things that you're experiencing. So that's just kind of like a way to look at it, is when you are starting your photography business, yeah, get specific and then just stick to that and show that in your portfolio. So yeah, those are all my tips, guys. That was a lot, and this is from 4 years ago when I was not even doing this as a business yet. So that was kind of fun to relive. But yeah, I hope you guys found all that helpful. And if you are wanting to learn more, like sign up for the free brand photography masterclass like I mentioned earlier in this video. I don't know if you like stuck around to the end or not. But yeah, thanks so much for watching. Give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you want more content like that. I feel like I have to share that in the end of these videos, but whatever. All right, again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.